Holiness to our university once again, and please also welcome Dr. Jimpa.
And Zula loved the Champudi, Zunzi, consent, Chartang, and the Kawa number. That Luju, then they recover it. And Timingi, Cheddar Woman Henge, someone like Shalia, and that there is a Jaya Kukochumba, Hajan Kavachon, and the Regata Kuko Trajana, someone like a Tushi.
Dr. John Wiley, Chancellor of this reputed University of Wisconsin, eminent members of the faculty, students, and brothers and sisters. It's a very joyful opportunity for me to be able to share this afternoon with you. So at the beginning, I would like to express my deep appreciation for all those who have been involved in organizing this event.
I think the reasons to some kind of joyfulness. I think a few more reasons here. Firstly, I think through Kishisavala, some relations develop. I think since early 60s. And this scholar is actually, when I got the final examination in front of 1,000, I think, scholars or students, the debater, one of the debater, so of course, his kindness, I think his motivation, debating with me, not that way.
Out of his kindness, his motivation in debating with me was not to give me a hard time.
So very kind. I think actually the meaning of real examination means the more harder debate is necessary. But I am rather lazy student, so my knowledge some kind of shallow way.
So my knowledge remained quite superficial on the surface.
So therefore, his attitude is very, very kind. In my case, I think necessary. Then, also, Kishisavala, the first Karla Chakra initiation in this country at his place, I think 81. Then, recent years, and my involvement about dialogue between Buddhist science and modern science, one professor, one scholar,
Richard Davidson.
Richard Davidson, say one of the main person. So through that way also, you see, we developed some special connection with this university. So here, Richard also here. So very, very helpful to not only just my personal sort of understanding, but also now in India, the Buddhist as a student, a philosophical student, now we last now at least I think 5-6 years, now we already introduce modern science to selected students, about 40-50 students. Now we are decide the more serious study regularly to more students as a permanent sort of study in the modern, in the sort of whole year study, then eventually, hopefully, introduce in our traditional curriculum modern science. So in that respect, collaboration with great scientists from America as well as from Europe, and particularly rigid, very, very helpful. So, because of these reasons, see, emotionally or otherwise, you see, we have some special sort of, connection. So I'm very happy once more here. And on top of that, large number of people, you see, came to see me or to listen my lecture. So when many people come, then sometimes I feel rather a little anxious, because the people who are coming here with the motivation just out of curiosity, then no problem. Your side also, you see, out of curiosity. My side also, you see, no systematic sort of plan. Just whatever thought comes and I express. No problem, not serious. Then, if some, you see, serious student or serious people who really expecting or some, you see, the important subject or some difficult subject, then you may disappoint. I'm not that kind of serious person. Then, worst thing, some people, sometimes, you see, in Europe, and America also sometimes it happen. You see, the people, some kind of, you see, I think false, unrealistic sort of belief that Dalai Lama have some kind of miracle power. In fact, you see, some patient, or in England, I think once I expressed here or not, I don't know. But some occasions I just expressed that story. One occasion in England,
In the Royal Albert Hall in London, yeah.
Albert, yes. Albert is a hall. They won my lecture, big gathering. So I told the similar way, and then I mentioned if someone, you see, who have some the expectation, Dalai Lama have some kind of miracle. So you see, some patient actually, you see, come to seek sort of healing power. Then at that, you see, meeting, I told, I have no such sort of healing power, and in fact, I'm very, very skeptical about that. So if there is sort of person who really have that healing power, then firstly, I want to show, you see, my sort of problem, this leg. So some kind of skin disease. So always is itching like that. So although you say no one came as a healing power, right? But later I received one small package with some ointment for skin disease. So that is a real blessing. So that is the story. So, so in any way, I really appreciate it's a large number of people who came. Then, team.
Compassion, a source of happiness.
Now the important is there is no disagreement. We all want happy life. We all do not want suffering. It is our right, basic right. Since by nature we have the feeling of pleasure, pains, suffering, uncomfortable, joyful. We have these feelings there. And we want these positive things. So that's the basis of our right. Even plants, they have the capacity to exist. So they also have the right to exist. So therefore, I think any form of life have the right to exist. And our case, not only just mere exist, but exist with happy, meaningful. That's our basic right. So, now since we human beings, because of this marvelous brain, human brain, or say the happiness or satisfaction to human being and satisfaction to other animal, now there is differences. Right? I think we human beings, you see, there are different levels of happiness or joyfulness. And similarly, pains and suffering, there are also different levels. Here mainly pleasure and unpleasant sort of experience of feeling, mainly on the level of sensorial level. That is more or less common with other other species of mammals. Then another level, mainly was a mental level. That we, I think, human being have is a sort of much more complex because of our intelligence. So this intelligence or this marvelous brain creates, I think, capacity to remember about long time past, and particularly with help of writing script, our memory about past even more, let's say, clear and more depth. And also, we have this, I think, unique capacity to visualize, vision,
Imagine future.
imagination. So our children, grandchildren, grandchildren, or next century, so on, like that. So because of that, anyway, it is good. Very long memory and great sort of power of imagination and vision. That's good. But that also causing more disturbance in our mind. For example, our present generation, happy, no problem, but thinking, previous generation, many centuries ago, what happened? I think one example, one occasion in Frankfurt, in Germany, one meeting, some people from different ethnics, and there one American native Indian, also there. So usually I have quite close sort of relation with Native Indian, Native Americans. I do respect or appreciate their traditional sort of concept, the taking care of the earth and respect nature. These are very important, very good. And one of the as a representative from Native American gave long speech, and that speech too long, so everybody seems boring. Me too, little boring. Then the real sort of the message in that sort of long speech, boring speech, is actually in the past European white people who invaded America and killed many Native Americans. So now, as a civilized sort of world, a civilized sort of century, now all white people should expel from America. That kind of thinking, that kind of view is to come as a result of the long memory about past memory. So I think that particular is a person. I think when you see he reflects these things, so he very unhappy. The past event, century-old event, now that causing his disturbance in his mind, clear. And also because of the sort of the ability of imagination. Today, present, everything comfortable, but too much worry about tomorrow, about next week, about next year, next decade, next century. Because of that sort of imagination, your present sort of calmness completely destroyed. Here, this happened like that. So, regarding disturbances in mental level, there is no way to rely on, to cure that, relying purely on external means. Very difficult. Taking drugs, alcohol, temporary method, and sometimes is it the drugs? I think your mind more confusion. So I think in our daily life, quite enough confusion there. So more confusion is unnecessary, not much helpful. So I think the best thing is may have some of the doctor may have some sort of surgery method to remove some part of our brain, so that we become like kasota, robot, no feeling, just like that. That also not good. Just like animal feeding and sleep and reproduction, reproduce, not like that. Simple, and human life become very simple. That also not good. So I prefer more sophisticated, more colorful life. It's better. Meantime, through sort of certain way of thinking, certain mental attitude, if we utilize our intelligence through such a way, they reduce disturbances in mental level and sustain more calmness, more satisfaction, in spite, you see, some sort of difficult surroundings. That's wise, really worthwhile. Now, firstly, I think worthwhile to put big question whether there's possibility or not. Then next, more research. The mental level disturbances through training of mind reduce their disturbances. Now here actually religions, religious faith, I think come into the picture where I think 1,000 years, at least 3,000 years, 3 to 4,000 years. So in human society, when the physical limitation, faithless.
So if you look at the history of human evolution, we have, as a society, had presence of religion going back to at least 3,000 years. And the reason for that is, as human beings, when we encounter in our life certain situations which are beyond the capacity of our individual, particularly from the physical point of view, our physical capacity, when you reach certain situations where the solution to the problem lies beyond that capacity, then we seek some form of comfort and trust in some higher power.
So various different religious traditions also, I think, some potential to help in that level. I think one obvious sort of reason, the source to combat mental disturbances is actually our inner values, such as compassion. With compassion, spirit of forgiveness. So, therefore, all major religious traditions carried same message of love, compassion, forgiveness, tolerance, and then self-discipline, then contentment, these things. Now, today, among the people, there's some section of the people still feel the value of religion or religious faith still important. And then equally, some portion of the society, human community, no particular interest about religion. So, I think two choices. Either because the importance of love and compassion, these things, so we should insist, must accept religion, or I'm totally relying on religion, or with no special interest about religion, and also no interest about compassion or forgiveness, these things. I think that's the two choice, I think, mistake. Right? That yana chambada ningisa didi gugi benjisane chejala touch the yisha. Yana chejala yiji mab the chebji chambada ningidi tamamabsha. That is what you think.
So sometimes there is a tendency to look at this question of the role of religion in very extreme terms. For example, people seem the choice is basically the following two. Because we recognize the importance of the value of compassion, forgiveness, love, tolerance, and so on, therefore, we must embrace religion as the foundation for that. That is one extreme. The other extreme is to say that because
Extremes or one side.
one stand. The other stand is because I have no interest in religion myself, therefore I should not pay serious attention to the values such as love, compassion, forgiveness, and self-discipline, tolerance, and so on. And these people seem to think these are the two options.
Now, some people, I think mainly, religious believer, they believe moral ethics must be based on some form of religious faith. I think that bit too narrow. Right? I feel, and also some people share with me same view, that there must be third way without religious belief, but through awareness promote human values, or promote the compassion, forgiveness, these things. So that actually the truth of the secular, these are secular ethics. Now secularism, some my Muslim friend interpret secularism means rejection of religion. But according Indian, as they thought, in fact, India's constitution, I think based on secularism. So secular ethics, seculars. So that does not mean rejection of religion, but respect all religions and also respect non-believer. So therefore, secular, not necessarily some meaning of rejection of religion, not that, but secular without religious, without religious involvement. So now here, the secular ethics, without talking about religious faith, simply through education, through awareness, they're trying to develop conviction, importance of love, compassion, these things. So that actually, you see, my main effort or my main interest, wherever I go, I always share with people, we are human beings. As I mentioned before, we want happy life. We want successful life. Success or happiness much depend on our mental attitude. Although materially may be very successful, with a lot of money, a lot of fame, a lot of facility, a lot of friends. Now here question, friend, genuine friend or friend of money or friend of power, that also you see have to judge. Sometimes someone so long remain with power, more friend. When no longer power, less friend, isn't it? And also someone whose fortune goes like that, a lot of smiling faces come. And the fortune go like that, then even you want to telephone, no answer. That kind of things will happen. These are not genuine human friend, but friend of power or friend of money, like that. So these friends are artificial friends. I think in genuine human level, these are artificial friend. So not reliable friend. So even you see some artificial sort of friends there, but these are at the same time, such person as an individual human being, very, very unhappy person. We can see that. So therefore, Now, internal sort of certain way of thinking is, I think, very, very crucial. Now here, through awareness means through analyze what kind of emotions bring us more inner peace, what emotions disturb our peace of mind. I think like external things, we usually, for this body, we need food and clothes, shelter. Now we investigate what material is good for body, right? Particularly like my skin, this is always irritating. So some people advise me certain material of clothes is bad for irritation. Certain material is better. I don't know so much, but you see, say like that. And also, for certain physical sort of condition, certain food is suitable for certain sort of condition. Another food is more suitable. So we usually make choice. This is suit for me. This is not suit for me. So now, since our inner element also major factor our happiness or unhappiness or worry or fear or dissatisfaction or frustrations, therefore it is equally important and worthwhile to analyze the nature of different emotions, such as anger, hatred, jealousy. With these emotions, happy, calm mind, very difficult. And some other sort of emotion, strong sense of concern of other, although at that moment you may get little disturbances, but there's big differences. Disturbances out of one's own suffering or out of sense of concern of others' suffering. Big differences. There's certain disturbances out of concern of others' suffering that firstly come voluntarily. You have the choice whether you should take serious concern of others or not. You have the choice, right? But you voluntarily take the sense of concern about others' suffering. So there is the element of volunteer. So volunteer come self-confidence. So the self-confidence is opposition force of fear. Clear? Usually frustrations, angers come often from fear. So reduced fear, more confidence bring us more will. Honest will, right? Not clever way, not negative will, but I think positive will. Out of fear also sometimes certain kind of will come, but shaky will. The genuine will, I think based on honesty, right, and self-confidence, these are, I think, source of our inner strength. So therefore, so the compassion bring us inner strength. Inner strength reduce fear, sense of insecurity. And that also in body level, more anxiety, more stress, more frustrations, very bad for our basic element of the body. More natural, sort of balanced, sort of body element. Your mind calm, peace, these elements go smoothly. More worry, more fear, more anxiety, more stress, then disturb our body element. Even if some scientists, told us they like strong anger or hatred actually eating our immune system. Then positive emotion, positive or some emotions such as compassion actually strengthen our immune system. So among the different emotions, some are very destructive, some are positive. So therefore, as external thing, we choose some good things, take some harmful things, get rid of. Similarly, our inner emotions, some positive, some emotions are something useful, so take and try to increase. And some of the emotions are very bad for not only peace of mind, but also health. So therefore, you recognize these things, then try to reduce. So now, that is there now, Kasore. Without human intelligence, we cannot do that. Now, by birth, we have this intelligence. So I think it's really worthwhile to further investigation among the minds or thoughts or emotions. What thoughts or emotions are helpful? What thoughts or emotions are harmful? Number one. I think the latest scientific findings also very helpful to know more clearly about these, say, function of different emotions and also effects on our body, particularly our brain, due to these different emotions. I think further sort of investigation or research work still going on. So then, next question, whether we can develop these positive emotions such as compassion, affection. Compassion, I think since you see here more people, so maybe I think useful. Compassion or a sense of concern, there are, I think, many levels or many
degrees of intensity and strength.
And also, like any emotion, not independent or absolute. Like brain itself, emotions also, I think, variety of emotion and some interlink also there. So due to different sort of factors, so their sense of concern also there are variety. So the compassion, I think sense of concern, and there are also element of sense of closeness. Sometimes I think sense of concern, but you feel more superior, the other who passing through difficulties more inferior, and look like this, and there's some kind of feeling of pittiness. That not compassion, not genuine compassion. Compassion is, I think, there is element respect others' right. Respect other. Recognize other also just like myself. And then also closeness feeling. One closeness feeling entirely depends on others' attitude. So that closeness feeling also kind of compassion, but much mixed with attachment. And also, I think, much based on others' action, not the being. So long the other's attitude positive attitude remain there, closeness feeling, sense of concern there. As soon as their attitude change, or even slight different attitude come, immediately you change your attitude. So these are, firstly, limited, and I think based on artificial and also biased. So genuine compassion is firstly not based on others' attitude, but being. Recognize they also, like me, want happiness, do not want suffering. And on that recognition, develop sense of concern of others, you see, because of the welfare. So that mainly depend on, based on recognition others as a sentient being, right? Not their behavior. So now on that level, no differences, the other's attitude towards you, some towards you as a friend, positive. Some people, so-called enemy, their attitude towards you is negative. But beside their action, the being itself is concerned now same human being. So now there is capacity of compassion, reach your enemy as human being, as human brothers, sisters. That compassion, that sense of concern is unbiased. That will not come spontaneously, but through training, with help of human intelligence, human awareness, now that can develop. That's reliable based on
valid forms of understanding.
So through using more reasons, more conviction, that sort of compassion will increase. So that kind of emotion, through training, more reliable, more stable. Then the possibility of development of such thing. Firstly, I think seed of compassion, that is the unbiased compassion, actually develop on the basis of biased compassion. Right? That biased, limited compassion, I think from birth we develop that. I think human body itself really need human affection. I often feel, and also telling people, we human beings, fortunately, our way of beginning of life, with mother's milk.
As human beings, when we are newly born, we remain as infant for a very long time, very vulnerable.
So because of that sort of nature, the mother's care is indispensable, survey. Indispensable. After birth, without mother's care, then within or mother or someone else who acting like mother, without that care, within a few days will die. And without, generally speaking, without mother's milk, your physical well-being, your sort of also the proper development of your brain, and also the physical touch with mother, without that, you have the proper enlargement, enlarging your brain, suffer. So that's nature. Some animals, like turtle, some turtle, and also butterfly or moth, some insect, You see, the mother just lay down the egg, then disappear, some soon die, like salmon fish, also like that. Lay down the egg, then die, then hatch. After hatch, the children, small fish themselves, have to take care themselves. So in such case, I don't think nature create affection. So if some scientist here, then I think really worthwhile, the turtle's mother and the turtle's offspring later put together, judge whether both sides have the capacity to show affection. I don't think. Nature creates such. No need affection. Why? No need dependency. So therefore, emotionally, no need any element which bring together. Our case, and also mammals like cats or dogs or many birds, their offspring's sort of survival entirely depend on mother's care. So in that case, in order to survival, whether God created or by nature created, now the element in the emotional level, element to bring together, that's the affection. As soon as child born, the child, no idea who is that person. Even no idea as a mother. But biologically, entirely relying on that person. So long that person take, the child feel happy, sleep. Separate, unhappy. Then also, mother side also, in spite some disturbances, some difficulties, the full, because of the determination to take full care about the child. So, human nature, affection come for survival. It's very clear. The child, those child, I think, including myself, I think my mother, very, very compassionate, very affectionate, not only her own children, but also the other children or other people who really passing through sufferings. She always crying when she saw these things. And whatever she possessed, always give. So very kind. But my father not like that. Quite often sort of temper. I also get some beating from him. But my mother is very, very kind. So I strongly feel today's certain amount of my compassion happen or develop because of the first few days experience under mother's full care. Mother sort of provide me full compassion. I think that really has a seed of my today's, I think, lifelong sort of warm-heartedness. I think, you see here, I think few thousand people here, I think those individuals who really having happy memory or happy sort of experience at the time of the early age. I think those people are more happier, more potential of compassion. So those children, those people who, in a way, who suffer at that, because of that period, I think less sort of warm-heartedness feeling. It's possible. So therefore, we all born or come from mother. Anyone who come from flower or who come from sky, I don't think. We all come from mother and all tasted mother's sweet milk. I think that is the real beginning of compassion, affection, and happy life. So it is really worthwhile. That experience should keep till our death. Our life will be more happier, more calm. And our basic mental state, more calm, more happier, then our daily mood become more positive. So it's a more positive mood, even distress way, or disturbances, or some tragedy, or some bad news come. Because you're like immune system, your basic sort of mental attitude, good mood, calm, therefore with inner strength. So these negative news or negative event, of course, bring some unhappiness, some sadness, some shock, some surprise. But deep down, your mind still calm, or good mood. So therefore, less disturbance. Sometimes I make it like ocean, wave, sometimes stronger, sometimes less. Wave come, go, come and go. But underneath, ocean always remain calm. Something like it. If our mood more calm, then these disturbances, of course, come and go, comes and go, without much serious sort of stresses.
Serious damage.
Par imprint.
Without leaving serious traces behind.
But on the other hand, person who always in deep insight sort of too much stress or insecure, and mood not good. I think, for example, I think previous day, anyone who have good fight with your your partner, or even you see children, good fight with your parent, the next day your mood not very good, isn't it? Still something in deep inside, some uncomfortable. So during that moment, even slight sort of disturbance come, immediately burst. So therefore, the calm mind, the good mood is very, very important. I think when strong anger comes or develop, then during that moment, you see, they try to opposite force. It's difficult. But the wise way is basic mind should be more calm, should be more because of the good mood. Then anger, hatred about to come, easier to challenge. So that's the way. So see, analyze these things, think these things more seriously, then it is quite clear some of these sort of emotions, such as compassion, forgiveness, these things are very positive, very useful for both mental peace, physical well-being. Then there is real possibility. I mean, these things much depend on our view. So different views, views can change, or different views can develop due to using human intelligence or awareness. I think every event, there's different aspects. So same event, looking from this aspect, from this viewpoint, you see something different picture. And look from another angle, a different picture. Because it is, relative. So there is way change our perception using different reasons, right? So therefore, responsibility to change our attitude. And then most important, by birth, biologically, we have the seed of the compassion. So, source of happiness. So, compassion or warm-heartedness is the actually ultimately source of happiness, source of happy life. That's about my talk. What do you think? Do you think some sense? Now some questions. Okay. Now some questions. Some question, yes.
As a mother of 2 children, how can I teach them to be good human beings in this world when they are surrounded by senseless acts of violence, such as what we recently witnessed at Virginia Tech University?
I think generally, as I mentioned earlier, I think it utilizes these sort of reasons. And then most important, at the mother side, I think should provide maximum affection to your children. That's most important, as my own story. Then detail, the same question, I think Houston or San Francisco, I think same questions. So then I responded, I have no actual experience to take care of children. So if I take care of children, maybe a few hours, very nice. Then after a few hours, I don't know. I'm not very sure. I think really, parents, I think really have some kind of, I think, special patience. I think really, I think by nature, so like that. So that, I think we monk lack of that experience, like that. So next question.
What is your typical daily routine? Do you have any hobbies?
Daily survey. Routine? No special. Of course, as a practitioner, like late Thomas Merton, my daily, the day start, Thomas case 2:30 morning, my case 3:30. Then some meditation, some prayer, meditation mainly analytical meditation. Then of course, breakfast. As a Buddhist monk, no dinner. So after lunch, it's no solid food. But my case, sometimes if I feel hungry and a lot of sort of work or a lot of busy day, then sometimes with salutation to Buddha, few biscuits or some cakes. I think Buddha very, very kind. So I think he certainly, I'm quite sure, you see, he gives me permission to eat some of these biscuits. So otherwise, you see, like Thailand or Sri Lanka, in this area, the monk, you see, food habit, very strict. No afternoon, no solid food. So like that. So therefore, next morning, I always feel hungry. So breakfast is very, very precious, very blessing way.
Very important.
Very important. So my younger brother, so I teach him. He almost never saw sunrise because he sleep till late. So then he responds to me, the main reason I got up in early morning is not prayer or meditation, but for breakfast. I think somebody said it is true. It is true. So like that, then go like that. Of course, I think one, as a practitioner, as soon as I got up and think, I should utilize this day more meaningful. And I myself also should have more happier days, right? Like that. That actually is something like preparation of the different sort of consequences of the day. From early morning, from the beginning of the day, some kind of caution or some kind of preparation and determination. That some help. So rest of the day, usually this sort of strong determination in early morning in order to shape my mind, makes some impact. Otherwise, nothing special. Like that. Or then? Then, I think meditation takes 4 hours. Then some work. If not much work, then reading, study. Mainly, nowadays mainly a Tibetan script, which I learned in the past. So refresh, and also contemplation, very useful. Then of course I listen BBC always. Very important. Then some read some newspapers, some magazines. Then most cases afternoon meeting people, different people. Sometimes meeting very useful, sometimes meeting waste of time. Like that. Go like that. So then, I'm Tibetan usually is a non-vegetarian, except as a few individuals. After I came to India, I think 65, I try become vegetarian. So then next almost 2 years, I remain strict vegetarians. Then some physical problems just started. Then I returned the original veracity diet. But then, meantime, we promote in India vegetarianism. Most bigger monastic institutions, they usually is the number of students about 2,000, 3,000, 4,000 like that. All these common kitchens now strictly now vegetarian. So we really making effort promotion of vegetarianism. And I myself also, most of the time, vegetarian. Sometimes once a week or sometimes once 2 weeks, little non-vegetarian things. like that. So, and then sleep around 8, like that. So usually sound sleep, 8 hours, 9 hours, sometimes 10 hours. So that's best part of my restful rest. Busy daytime, and then long hour sleep. Very happy. Like that. Yes.
What can we do to help Tibet?
Of course, I appreciate your question or your concern. Yes, since 2000, beginning of 2000, we renewed direct contact with Chinese government. So we are trying to find a mutually agreeable solution. That means we are not seeking independence. Irrespective of the past history, according to this reality, Tibet as a landlocked country and a materially backward and a small population and modern education, trainings, we are very much lacking. Meantime, every Tibetan wants modernized Tibet. Therefore, as far as material development is concerned, we get greater benefit remain within the People's Republic of China. At the same time, we also have very unique cultural heritage and rich Buddhist tradition and beautiful, delicate environment. So therefore, we need special arrangement regarding preservation of Tibetan culture, Tibetan spirituality, and Tibetan delicate, environment. So present arrangement, so-called autonomy, is actually autonomy only on paper. In reality, all the decision makers, all people in the decision makers are people who have no idea about Tibetan culture, Tibetan spirituality, and the delicate situation of Tibetan environment. So therefore, the present situation is actually no guarantee for preservation of Tibetan culture, Tibetan spirituality. So already, the purer form of Tibetan culture, Tibetan spirituality exists only outside Tibet, not inside Tibet. The problem, those Chinese sort of officials, their main concern is, Tibet must remain within the People's Republic of China, should not separate. So they are always, every field, they're always looking from the angle of the political side, not culture or the environment or these things. So therefore, few years ago, one party secretary in autonomous region of Tibet, actually, I think his name, Teng Guyen, he actually expressed in party meeting that the source of threat, Tibetan separation, is Tibetan Buddhism. So, accordingly, they put a lot of restrictions, and monk in the monastery need political education. Here, political education sounds okay, but the reality, political education means criticism Dalai Lama, absolute loyalty to communist. So these are rather difficult, isn't it? So, and those monks and nuns who not criticize Dalai Lama, expelled from the monastery or nunnery. So there are a lot of difficulties, a lot of contradictions. As a result, I think the almost, I often meeting with a Tibetan who come from Tibet with great risk of their own future, including some old retired officials, some old party member. For example, one occasion I met one Tibetan who introduced me as a party secretary in district level, last 40 years as a party member. Then I joked to him, since you are old communist, you should not have Buddhist faith. I just teased him. Then he told me, he answered to me with great sort of moving way. He told me, more than 40 years as a communist, no single day some kind of doubt towards Buddha. And of course, if I say it's not nice, but he also told me, last 40 years, he never developed some kind of, doubt towards you. That means I'm Dalai Lama. So even those old Communist Party member, some cases ideologically they are genuine communist, but as far as Tibetan spirit is concerned, very, very strong. So more than 95% of Tibetan people are just like that. So that's the problem. So I always is telling our Chinese leaders, the Chinese leaders, their policy should be realistic, accept the reality, then accordingly deal with that realistically. So I feel the best way to deal with the problem is my approach, middle way of approach, not independence, but special sort of Dakazoda, genuine autonomy, which Chinese constitution provided us. And in early 50s, Chairman Mao Zedong and Liu Shaoqi and Tu Te, in Zhu Enlai, during those periods, the Chinese government sort of recognized Tibet case is some special case. So therefore, 1950, Chinese Liberation Army already reached certain eastern part of Tibet, up to Chamdo. Then very easy to send army up to Lhasa, very easy. But the Chinese government prefer army must stop there. Then they prefer peaceful liberation through agreement. So 1951, 17-point agreement signed. Although the circumstances under sort of duress, but central government prefer, Tibet is concerned, liberation should be through negotiation, through agreement, rather than just a standing army. Then as late as 1956, Zhu Enlai and Ho Long came to India, while I also in India, Buddha Jayanti celebration. Then the Zhu Enlai told Pandit Nehru, the Chinese central government do not consider Tibet as a ordinary Chinese provinces. Tibet case is some special case. So in early period, the leadership, wise leadership, experienced leadership, really recognized Tibet case is something very special case. So we simply trying to talk with Chinese government. Please look situation As Deng Xiaoping once stated, seeking truth from fact. That slogan is really scientific, really wonderful. But for that, the fact must be fact, genuine fact, not artificial fact. So our friends here, and also I think some Chinese brothers, sisters also, I think here. So finally, the problem, Tibetan problem, have to find solution between Chinese brothers, sisters and Tibetan. No one else. Meantime, of course, our sympathizers, supporters, our brothers, sisters outside the world or Western world, including the United States, also you see, I think very, very helpful to materialize meaningful understanding, meaningful solution. But final sort of understanding or solution must find between Chinese and Tibetan. So therefore, some I think young Chinese student or some Chinese teachers here, please I'm assuring to you, we are not seeking separation, we are not seeking independence because of our own interest. But meantime, please give us meaningful autonomy so that the People's Republic of China's great unity, stability, and harmony, which President Wu Jintao stressing, harmony, then can materialize. So actually my approach is helping to the central government to materialize stability and unity and prosperity. And through that way, genuine harmony. So I'm happy having this opportunity. Now next two questions, yes.
You have been involved in a dialogue with scientists for many years. What have you learned?
I know a lot of many things. And then one thing, the sort of geographical explanation in some Buddhist text now seems disgrace. So we are taking liberty to abandon you see these sort of the concept of
traditional Buddhist cosmology.
I think Nalanda tradition, Sanskrit tradition have the liberty to check, investigate even Buddha's own word. So therefore, that's not a problem. But other hand, some other field, like relation between mind and neurons, and also different function of emotions, and how to handle these different emotions. In that respect, according ancient Indian thought, including Buddhism, I think more materials, which is useful to modern scientists. And then quantum physics, like quantum physics, seems the Chichilya, Rajtuya.
Seems there's a lot of parallels and also could be mutually complementary.
So as I mentioned earlier, you see the contact or serious discussion between Buddhist science and modern science is really useful and amazing, wonderful.
The final question. With all the violence and terrorism in the world, are you optimistic about our future?
Well, basically, yes, I'm optimistic. Now look, I think I think general sort of people sort of way of looking, I think much changed during the previous century. Early part of 20th century and the later part of 20th century, I think that big change. basic human sort of way of thinking, including international relations. So now this 21st century is continuation of the later part of 20th century. I think now not much time, but one example. I think desire for genuine peace, I think really very high everywhere. And sort of the feeling of fed up about using violence also much increasing everywhere. I think United States also, I think since Iraq war happened, now I think many people now really feel using force is not the sort of right method. So, and then serious concern about environment with help of scientists or those specialists. I think that also immense, I think, immensely increasing. So these are positive. So basically, I always believe many problems which we are facing today is essentially man-made problem. Therefore, logically, those problems which our own creation, since therefore we human beings must have the ability to solve these problems, to overcome these problems, because these are our own made. Then I think we need, I often used to telling people, I think this whole, also I think I already told in, I think my previous sort of visit here also, that now the 20th century, I think this way, we need, as my main talk, the importance of compassion, that practice, promotion of that thing is the method of inner disarmament. With that, we really need effort continuously or constantly, external disarmament, step by step. Through that way, 20th century become like century of bloodshed, century of violence, and result more suffering, more complication, more hatred, more division. Therefore, now this 21st century should be century of dialogue. That is important. With compassion, with holistic view and determination, more patience whenever we have confrontation of disagreement or different interest within human family, right? And must try to find a solution through peaceful means. That's very important. So, with our determination, with our effort, tirelessly, I think this century should be more peaceful, more compassionate one, more sort of happy one. That's sort of my belief. But the more compassionate society, more happier society will not come only through prayer or meditation. We must work hard, right? Making more effort continuously. And particularly education, our younger generation. I think we need certain sort of way to educate our younger generation these deeper values, so that eventually our society, I think the atmosphere of the society gradually can change. Then leaders or politicians come from that kind of society will be different, more compassionate. So that's our long-term policy. Thank you.
Thank you for watching Wisconsin Public Television's coverage of His Holiness the Dalai Lama's presentation in Madison. You can also find the Dalai Lama's speech streamed on our website at wpt.org. For Wisconsin Public Television, I'm Kathy Beeson. Good night.
Very kind. In my case, I think necessary. Then, also, Kishisavala, the first Karla Chakra initiation in this country at his place, I think 81. Then, recent years, and my involvement about dialogue between Buddhist science and modern science, one professor, one scholar, David Kaza.
Richard Davidson.
Richard Davidson, say one of the main person. So through that way also, you see, we developed some special connection with this university. So here, Richard also here. So very, very helpful to not only just my personal sort of understanding, but also now in India, the Buddhist as a student, a philosophical student, now at least I think 5-6 years, now we already introduce modern science to selected students, about 40-50 students. Now we are decide the more serious study regularly to more students as a permanent sort of study in the modern, in India. In the sort of whole year study, then eventually, hopefully, introduce in our traditional curriculum modern science. So in that respect, collaboration with great scientists from America as well as from Europe, and particularly Richard, very, very helpful. So, because of these reasons, see, emotionally or otherwise, you see, we have some special sort of, connection. So I'm very happy once more here. And on top of that, large number of people, you see, came to see me or to listen my lecture. So when many people come, then sometimes I feel rather a little anxious, because the people who are coming all do not want suffering. It is our right, basic right. Since by nature we have the feeling of pleasure, pains, suffering, uncomfortable, joyful. We have these feelings there. And we want these positive things. So that's the basis of our right. Even plants, they have the capacity to exist. So they also have the right to exist. So therefore, I think any form of life have the right to exist. And our case, not only just mere exist, but exist with happy, meaningful. That's our basic right. So, now since we human beings, because of this marvelous brain, human brain, also the happiness or satisfaction to human being and satisfaction to other animal, now there is differences. Right? I think we human beings, you see, there are different levels of happiness or joyfulness. And similarly, pains and suffering, there are also different levels. Here mainly pleasure and unpleasant sort of experience of feeling, mainly on the level of sensorial level. That is more or less common with other other species of mammals. Then another level, mainly was a mental level. That we, I think, human beings have is a sort of much more complex because of our intelligence. So this intelligence or this marvelous brain creates, I think, capacity to remember about long time past, and particularly with help of writing script, our memory about past even more, let's say, clear and more depth. And
Holiness to our university once again, and please also welcome Dr. Jimpa.
and Zula loved the Chambudi, Zunzi, consent, Chartang, and the Kawa number, Luju, then they don't cover it. And Timingi, Cheddar Pomal Henge, someone like Shalia, and that day, those are Jaya Kukochumba, Hasan Kauchon, and the regular Kuko Trajan and someone like Tushi.
Dr. John Wiley, the Chancellor of this reputed University of Wisconsin, eminent members of the faculty, students, and brothers and sisters. It's a very joyful opportunity for me to be able to share this afternoon with you. So at the beginning, I would like to express my deep appreciation for all those who have been involved in organizing this event.
I think the reasons to some kind of joyfulness. I think a few more reasons here. Firstly, I know through Kishisavala, some relations develop. I think since early 60s. And this scholar is actually, when I got the final examination in front of 1,000, I think, scholars or students, the debater, one of the debater, so of course, his kindness, I think his motivation, debating with me, not that way.
out of his kindness, his motivation in debating with me was not to give me a hard time.
So very kind. I think actually the meaning of real examination means the more harder debate is necessary. But I am rather lazy student. So my knowledge, some kind of shallow way.
So my knowledge remained quite superficial on the surface.
So therefore, his attitude is very... Also, we have this, I think, unique capacity to visualize, vision,
Imagine future.
imagination. So our children, grandchildren, grandchildren, or next century, so on, like that. So because of that, anyway, it is good. Very long memory and great sort of power of imagination and vision. That's good. But that also causing more disturbance in our mind. For example, our present generation, happy, no problem, but thinking, previous generation, many centuries ago, what happened? I think one example, one occasion in Frankfurt, in Germany, one meeting, some people from different ethnics, and there one American native Indian also there. So usually I have quite close sort of relation with native Indian, Native Americans. I do respect or appreciate their traditional sort of concept, the taking care of the earth and respect nature. These are very important, very good. And one of the as a representative from Native American gave long speech, and that speech too long, so everybody seems boring. Me too, very boring. Then the real sort of the message in that sort of long speech, boring speech, is actually in the past European white people who invaded America and killed many Native Americans. So now, as a civilized sort of world, a civilized sort of century, now all white people should expel from America. That kind of thinking, that kind of view is to come as a result of the long memory about past memory. So I think that particular is a person. I think when you see he reflects these things, so he very unhappy. The past event, century-old event, now that causing his disturbance in his mind. Clear. Here, with the motivation, just out of curiosity, then no problem. Your side also, you see, or say, out of curiosity. My side also, you see, no systematic sort of plan. Just whatever thought comes and I express. No problem, not serious. Then, if some, you see, serious student or serious people who really expecting or some, you see, the important subject or some difficult subject, then you may disappoint. I'm not that kind of serious person. Then, worst thing, some people sometimes, you see, in Europe, and America also sometimes it happen. You see, the people, some kind of, you see, I think false, unrealistic sort of belief that Dalai Lama have some kind of miracle power. In fact, you see, some patient, or in England, I think once I expressed here or not, I don't know. But some occasions I just expressed that story. One occasion in England,
In the Royal Albert Hall in London, yeah.
Albert, yes. Albert is a hall. They won my lecture, big gathering. So I told the similar way, and then I mentioned if someone you see, who have some the expectation, Dalai Lama have some kind of miracle. So you see, some patient actually you see come to seek sort of healing power. Then at that you see, meeting, I told I have no such sort of healing power, and in fact I am very, very skeptical about that. So if there is sort of person who really have that healing power, then firstly I want to show you see my sort of problem, this leg. So some kind of skin disease. So always is itching like that. So although you say no one came as a healing power, right? But later I received one small package, package with some ointment for skin disease. So that is a real blessing. So that is the story. So, so in any way, I really appreciate it's a large number of people you see came. Then, team.
Compassion, a source of happiness.
Now the important is there is no disagreement. We all want happy life.